Social and economic resources. Multiple choice questions. Question number 1. Which of the following is an example of a social resources? Forest, road, education, mineral. Education. Education is an example of social resources. Education helps development human skills and knowledge. It is a social resources because it enhances social well-being and human capital. Economic resources are also known as natural health, means of production, human strength, social assets. Means of production. Economic resources are also known as means of production. Economic resources are used to produce goods and services, so they are called means of production. Which one of the following is not an economic resources? Land, labor, capital, friendship. Friendship is not an economic resources. Friendship is a social resources not used directly in economic production. Human resources include people and their skills, natural resources, machines, raw materials. People and their skills is human resources. Human resources means the people who contribute to production through their knowledge and ability. The main purpose of social resources is profit making, economic development, human welfare and social progress, industrial production. Human welfare and social progress is main purpose of social resources. Social resources promote equality, education and social harmony for better living standards. Economic resources are classified into how many types? 3 types of economic resources. The 3 main types are land, labor, capital. Which of the following is a renewable economic resources? Koila, petroleum, forest, iron. Forest is a renewable economic resources. Forest can regenerate naturally, hence they are renewable. Social resources are connected with human relationship and institutions, machine and factories, minerals and fuels, cultural products. Human relationship and institutions are connected with social resources. Social resources include networks, institutions and relationships that improve quality of life. Which of the following is an example of physical capital resources? Machine, human knowledge, education, friendship. Machine is an example of physical capital resources. Machines are part of physical capital used for production. The ultimate sources of all resources is nature, government, market, human. Nature is the ultimate sources of all resources. All resources, whether social or economic, originate directly or indirectly from nature. Land is an example of social resources, economic resources, cultural resources, educational resources. Land is an example of economic resources. Land is used for production and thus considered an economic resources. Literacy is an example of natural resources, human resources, physical resources, material resources. Literacy is an example of human resources. Literacy enhances human skills, making it a valuable social and economic assets. Which of these is a non-renewable resources? Solar energy, wind energy, petroleum, water. Petroleum is a non-renewable resources. Petroleum cannot be regenerated easily, hence non-renewable. Economic development largely depends on availability of natural resources. Natural resources are the foundation for industrial and economic growth. Which among these is both a social and economic resources? Education is both a social and economic resources. Education builds human skills, social and improve productivity economic. Which of the following is an example of a human-made resources? Road Road is an example of human-made resources. Roads are created by humans using natural and capital resources. The productive use of resources is known as management. Proper management ensures efficient and sustainable use of resources. Economic resources are used to increase production and wealth. Economic resources are inputs used to produce goods and services. Which of these is a community resources? Village pond. Village pond is a community resources. Community resources are shared and used by all members of a community. Human capital refers to education, skills and health of people. Human capital is developed through education, training and healthcare. Proper use of economic resources help in reducing unemployment. Efficient use of resources creates job and economic growth. Which of the following is not a type of economic resources? Land, labor, capital, family relation. Family relation is not type of economic resources. Family relations are social, not economic in nature. The concept of sustainable resources use means using resources without harming future generations. Sustainability ensures balance between current use and future availability. Human resources are considered superior because they control all other resources. Human intelligence and skill direct how other resources are used. Which of the following is an example of natural resources? Gold. Gold is obtained from nature and used in trade and production, making it a natural economic resources. Which of these is an example of an economic activity? Playing football for fun, cooking at home, teaching in a school for salary, sleeping. Teaching in a school for salary is an example of economic activity. Any activity that earns income is an economic activity. The three main categories of economic resources are land, labor and capital. These are the fundamental factors of production in an economy. Which one of the following is not a renewable resources? Koila is not a renewable resources. Koila takes millions of years to form and cannot be renewed quickly. Why are human resources considered the most valuable? They can use and manage other resources. Human intelligence and skills guide how other resources are used effectively. The main aim of using social resources is social harmony and progress. Social resources improve relationship quality and living standards. Which one of the following is a capital resources? Machinery. Machinery is a capital resources. Machinery is man-made and used to produce other goods and capital resources. Economic resources help in producing goods and services. Economic resources are inputs used to generate production and income. Social capital means relationship and trust among people. Of trust and corruption that helps communities function effectively. The term economic resources refers to only natural resources, only human labor, all input used in production, only social institution, all inputs used in production. Economic resources refers to all inputs used in production. Economic resources include land, labor and capital needs to produce goods and services. An example of an intangible social resources is road, money, trust, school building. Trust and goodwill cannot be seen or touched but are vital for social cooperation. Which of the following is a free gift of nature? Labor, land, capital, enterprise. Land. Land is considered a natural and free gift of nature, available without human action. Economic development depends mainly on sports and games, availability and proper use of resources, traditional beliefs, family background. Economic development depends mainly on availability and proper use of resources. Productive use of resources is the foundation for economic growth. Which of these is an example of non-material resources? Education is an example of non-material resources. Education is non-material but enhances human and social development. Which of the following statements is true? Social resources are always physical. Economic resources include only natural ones. Human resources is part of both social and economic resources. Capital is a social resources. Human resources is part of both social and economic resources. Humans contribute socially and economically, making them part of both categories. The main sources of social resources is government, society and community interaction, factories, banks. Society and community interaction is the main sources of social resources. Social resources grow through human cooperation and community networks. Economic activities are primarily concerned with earning income, building friendship, social service, volunteering. Earning income. Earning income is concerned with economic activities primarily. Economic activities are performed to earn money and sustain livelihood. Which of these best defines resources? Anything that has utility and value. Anything that is free. Only man-made things. Anything found in nature. Anything that has utility and value. Resources are valuable because they satisfy human needs. Human capital information depends on education, training and health, forest area, industrial output, political system. Education, training and health. A healthy, educated and skilled population builds strong human capital. Which of these is an example of an economic service? Doctor treating patients for salary, mother teaching her child, volunteer helping in an event, playing cricket for fun. Doctor treating patients for salary is an example of economic service. Economic service involves earning money for professional work. What is meant by resource conservation? Using resources wastefully, avoiding all use, using resources carefully for the future, exploiting all resources. Using resources carefully for the future is meant by resources conservation. Conservation ensures that future generation can also use resources. What type of resources is a government school? Private resources, community resources, individual resources, natural resources. Community resources is a government school. Government schools are available for public use, hence community resources. Economic inequality is reduced when resources are owned by few, resources are equally distributed and used, social discriminations increase, education is denied to poor, resources are equally distributed and used, equal access to social and economic resources ensures fairness and social justice. Which of the following is an example of a community social resources? Private car, public library, personal computer, family house. Public library is an example of community social resources. Public library serves the entire community and promotes education and knowledge sharing as social resources. Which of the following is not a social resources? Education, health service, family support, electricity. Electricity is not a social resources. Electricity is a physical or economic resource, not a social one. What does the term economic welfare mean? Only having money, prosperity through efficient use of resources, political power, population growth. Prosperity through efficient use of resources mean by economic welfare. Economic welfare refers to improvement in living standards through proper use of economic resources. What is the key element of social development? Industrialization, social equality and justice, profit maximization, urbanization. Social equality and justice is the key element of social development. True social development means equal opportunities and fair treatment for all members of society. Which one is an example of a non-renewable resources? Koila. Koila is an example of non-renewable resources. Koila cannot be replenished with a human lifetime, making it a non-renewable resources. Economic planning in India focuses mainly on increasing military power, social and economic development, population control only, cultural social and economic development. India's planning aims at balanced growth by developing both social and economic resources. The main goal of resources management is to use resources wisely and sustainable, to use resources freely, to increase competition, to export all resources, to use resources wisely and sustainable. Resources management ensures long-term availability and balanced use of natural, social and economic resources. Human development is measured by HDI, Human Development Index. HDI includes health, education and income as key indicators of human progress. Which factor helps in building human capital? Population growth, education and training, deforestation, migration. Education and training factor helps in building human capital. Knowledge and skill gained through education builds strong human capital. The use of social and economic resources should be based on wasteful habitats, sustainable principles, political interests, random use. Sustainable principles is based on social and economic resources. Sustainability ensures balanced use so that future generations can benefit too. Which of the following is an economic institution? Family, school, bank, church. Bank is an economic institution. Banks deal with money, credit and finance, forming a vital part of economic institutions. Which is a future of social resources? They can be stored easily. They exist in relationship and networks. They are renewable like water. They are tangible. They exist in relationship and networks. Social resources depends on human interactions, trust and cooperation. National income depends on amount of rainfall, efficient use of economic resources, number of festivals, population density. Efficient use of economic resources. Productive and efficient resources used directly increase a nation's income and prosperity. Social infrastructure includes roads and railways, schools, hospitals and sanitation, factories and machines, markets and shops. School, hospitals and sanitation includes social infrastructure. These facilities support the well-being and productivity of social key components of social infrastructure. Land, labor, capital, and entrepreneurship are known as social institutions, factors of production, economic policies, market forces. Land, labor, capital, and entrepreneurship are known as social institutions, factors of production, economic policies, market forces. Factors of production. These are the basic resources used to produce goods and services. The use of renewable resources should be ultimated, controlled, and planned, avoided, completely ignored. Use of renewable resources. Even renewable resources must be used wisely to maintain ecological balance. The idea of sustainable development was popularized by Mahatma Gandhi, Brundtland Commission, United Nations Assembly, World Trade Organization. Brundtland Commission. The 1987 Brundtland Report introduced the concept of sustainable development, meeting present needs without harming the future. Social inequality can be reduced through education and equal opportunity, caste discrimination, resource hoarding, political favoritism. Education and equal opportunity reduced social inequality. Education empowers all social groups, reducing inequality and improving participation. The term labor in economics refers to only physical work, only skill work, human efforts, mental and physical use in production, machines. Human efforts, mental and physical use in production. Labor includes all human activities that help create goods and services. What is the role of capital in production? It replaced labor, it supports and enhances production efficiency. It has no role in production, it is only for saving. It supports and enhances production efficiency. Capital like machinery and technology improve productivity and reduce manual efforts. What is meant by human-made resources? Resources made by nature, resources created by humans using natural materials, resources that cannot be used by humans, wasted materials, resources created by humans using natural materials. Roads, buildings, and machines are examples of human-made resources. Why are economic resources scarce? Because human wants are limited. Because resources are unlimited. Because human wants are unlimited but resources are limited. Because resources are easy to create. Because human wants are unlimited but resources are limited. This is the basic problem of economic scarcity of resources. An example of a social institution that provides health service is bank, hospital, factory, school. Hospital. Hospitals improve public health and important aspect of social development. Which among the following is an example of productive use of natural resources? Mining koila for energy, burning forest, polluting rivers, cutting trees carelessly. Mining koila for energy is an example of productive use of natural resources. Using resources for economic benefits in a controlled manner in productive use. Why are social resources important for economic development? They improve relationship and cooperation necessary for growth. They increase mineral output, reduce employment, they promote isolation. They improve relationship and cooperation necessary for growth. Economic development is successful only when social harmony and cooperation exist in society. What is the main purpose of economic planning? To make the rich richer, to ensure balanced use of resources for development, to promote foreign culture, to increase luxury spending. to ensure balanced use of resources for development. Economic planning helps in organized and equitable development of all sectors. Which one of the following is a man-made economic resources? Iron, iron ore, soil, machine, water. Machine is a man-made economic resources. Machines are human creations used for production, making them man-made resources. Which factor is most important for social development? Literacy, land area, rainfall, mineral wealth. Literacy is most important for social development. Education promotes awareness, equality and social progress, key for social development. What does social justice means? Equal opportunities and fair treatment for all, rich getting richer, discrimination by caste, political power for few. Equal opportunity and fair treatment for all is mean by social justice. Social justice ensures equality in education, employment and rights. Which one of the following is a part of social capital? Roads, relationship and trust, gold, machines. Relationship and trust is a part of social capital. Social capital is built through cooperation and mutual understanding in a society. Which among these is an example of a productive economic resources? Money kept idle, a trained teacher, unused land, a broken machine. A trained teacher. A trained teacher is an example of a productive economic resources. A skilled teacher contributes to education and productive a human economic resources. Which is an important component of economic infrastructure? Electricity and transport, family and friendship, parks and temples, clubs and festival. Electricity and transport. Economic infrastructure like transport, energy and communication supports industrial growth. Which of the following is a type of human resources development? Training and skill development, building roads, mining, selling land. Training and skill development is a type of human resources development. Training enhances worker ability, improving productivity and employment. Which of the following is a future of sustainable development? Using all resources rapidly, saving resources for future generation, destroying forest, exploiting nature. Saving resources for future generation is a future of sustainable development. Sustainability balanced present needs with future ability. Why is health considered a social resource? It makes people stronger and more productive. It gives wealth only to the rich. It creates pollution. It increases inequality. It makes people stronger and more productive. Is health considered a social resource? A healthy population contributes to both social well-being and economic output. Which of these is an example of a private economic resources? Village well, family-owned land, public school, governmental hospital. Family-owned land is an example of private economic resources. Private resources are owned and controlled by individuals or families. Which of these is a characteristic of human resources? Cannot be developed. Renewable and improvable through education. Some anywhere. Non-renewable. Renewable and improvable through education is a characteristic of human resources. Human skills and knowledge can be increased with proper education and training. The Human Development Index HDI includes which of the following indicators? GDP, exports and imports, health, education and income, natural resources and rainfall, money supply. Health, education and income indicators HDI. HDI measure overall human progress in terms of living standards and well-being. Proper education helps in reducing human skills, increasing unemployment, building human capital and productivity, creating poverty. Building human capital and productivity is proper education helps. Education develops skill and efficiency, improving both social and economic outcomes. Why is water called a vital natural resource? Because it has no use. Because life cannot exist without it. Because it is only used in industries. Because it is man-made. Because life cannot exist without it. Water. Water supports all living organisms and human activities essential for survival. Economic growth without social development leads to balanced progress, inequality and social unrest, happiness for all, stability. Inequality and social unrest. Without social balance, economic growth benefits only a few, causing inequality. Which of the following is an intangible economic resources? Machinery, building, technology, land. Technology. Technology is an intangible economic resources. Technology cannot be seen physically but increase production efficiency. Which of the following is an example of overuse of resources? Deforestation, tree planting, water conservation, recycling. Deforestation is an example of overuse of resources. Cutting forests excessively destroys natural balance and leads to resources depletion. A strong education system contributes to economic backwardness, unemployment, social and economic development, political instability. Social and economic development contributes a strong education. Education empowers individuals and promotes natural growth. Which of the following is an example of sustainable use of resources? Using solar energy, burning koila only, cutting forests rapidly, wasting water. Using solar energy is an example of sustainable use of resources. Solar energy is renewable and environment friendly for sustainable use. Social development ensures growth for a few people only, equality, justice and social harmony, economic profit only, urban expansion. Equality, justice and social harmony ensures social development. Social development focus on improving quality of life for all sections of society. Who play a vital role in transforming resources into health? Machines, nature, human beings, minerals. Human beings play a vital role in transforming resources into wealth. Humans apply knowledge and skill to convert resources into useful products. What is the main objective of social resources management? To create inequality, to strengthen social relationships and networks, to reduce education, to promote discrimination, to strengthen social relationships and networks is the main objective of social resources management. Effective social resources management builds trust, cooperation and unity. Which among the following helps in both social and economic progress? Education and health, pollution, conflict, cooperation. Education and it helps in social and economic progress. Both are essential for skilled manpower and improved quality of life. Why is proper utilization of resources important? To wastage them faster, to ensure development without depletion, to finish them quickly, to create scarcity, to ensure development without depletion. Proper utilization helps achieve growth while protecting future availability.